one side is the house believes minus into minus is a plus. But what opposition had was everything else. Minus into plus is a minus, plus into minus is a minus, and plus into plus is a plus. So what I'm trying to say is the proposition had one statement alone, and we would have loved other things to be looked at rather than only plus into plus is a plus. And that, of course, will multiply into variable strata, segments, economic, social, political, etc. Allies, and so forth. I will like to see if the two teams are around, and if we could have a clear dialogue with them, it would help us go further. And if they would like to join us on the dais, it will be even more adorable. You're very welcome, please. We agree with all of them. We give you some positive marks for that. You've talked about the following perspectives for which you've gained marks. You've talked about life perspective or social perspective or whatever, not a social perspective, which you've talked about a beautiful lady and the pain and the baby. You've talked about mathematical perspective, a positive. You've talked about corporations coming together like Apple and Next, we give you a positive for that. Two ailing corporations, I'm sorry, two minuses. You've talked about disease plus treatment with examples like chemotherapy and dialysis, we give you a positive for that. You've talked about economic rivals, economic perspective where you've said two rivals, like enemy is a friend, which we know, both in political and in company rivals. So yes, we give you a positive for that. You've also talked about how a negative picture comes out through a dark room, positive. You've talked about political leaders when they do bad things, not only political leaders. In any organization, there's an indiscipline, eventually a policy comes out of it, which is a plus. Great. You talked about animal waste and fiber waste or other things which make manure. Yes, there are a lot of negatives. It's a similar thought. We'll leave it on that. You talked about cash credit limit, which definitely is a healthy sign, and you see progress with that. So you get a positive for that. Then you talked about the learning of a child by falling and accumulating a lot of negative experiences, where you make a learning pattern, connect a dot, and you say, wow, I've learned something in life. It's a positive for your further life when you say, yes, I can do better today. You also put up a grammar perspective, a language perspective, where you said, I am not unlike you. We give you a minus on that because that's a wrong sentence. You either can say, I'm unlike you, or you can say, I'm not like you. You cannot use both of them together. It's grammatically incorrect. We understand the symbols that you used, where you said, if have you used the two minuses in a symbolic pattern, it would make a plus. And finally, you've talked about sodium and chloride, how they come together and make NaCl, and both were basically negative elements. So is hydrogen oxide, and some more examples. That's a good example. Great, good. We appreciate it. We love you. If you can clap for the proposition. A lot of great perspectives. Thank you. Besides this, I would also like to go ahead. You have a minus for overtime. You have a minus which was taken as a POI or something. I'm not too sure. And then you also have a plus for taking a PO, right? Okay. Opposition leader comes in, you've given us very meaningful definitions, and we've given you positive points for that. You've then called our attention towards the first perspective, which is political parties, and if they have a negative, they can't make an impact. We give you a plus for that. You've talked about hapless investors, gullible investors, financial scams, positive. You've told us about terrorists and killing of civilians. We've given you a positive for that. You've talked about how any bad conduct of any leader in any organization or any way can lead to a negative. We give you a plus for that. You said no degree. If you ever have a fail in your any education pattern, you cannot receive a degree. We do not give you a plus or a minus on that because besides India, a large part of the world, it is the credit points that are counted. You could have failed 2 or 3 subjects and you still get your degree very much. In fact, I admit foreign nationals every year to PCT, and I very much have these acceptable norms. So we don't give you a negative, considering partly you are correct and partly you're wrong. You've talked about a historical perspective. I don't know if it is different from a leader. You've talked about a lot of environmental perspectives. You've talked about depletion of forest. What you've done is your other perspectives are slightly scattered and we've tried to collect them together at one point. You've talked about depletion of forest. You've talked about industrial development, global warming, and so many things. That's one perspective. We give you 1 for that. You also talked about social evils like quota system, female feticide, a lot of other things. We give you a positive for that. You also mentioned something like entertainment sector, where you've talked about big movie stars cannot make a movie work. We give you a positive for that. You took a rebuttal saying if anything goes wrong with a lady, certainly you don't expect a baby, or at least a complete baby. We give you a positive for that. You've used words like my, worthy, opponent, etc., for which you've lost a mark, and I think you are very much in time. That's not an issue. I'll come to the member. Can we give a round of applause for a great performance by? Thank you. Thank you for cheering them up. I'm sure it's taken a lot of courage for them to come here and be a part of the day. Ma'am, as the member of proposition, you began with symbols and how they connect. We give you a plus there. You've talked about how Steve Jobs started the company called Next and brought it together into Apple. Yes, you built that up. You also talked about Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Now, you did not get Brin right, but the opposition did not catch it. And Bob so wanted to catch the negatives, but he did not. Regardless, so we've not done anything to that, but my perspective is you're not getting a positive or a negative, because no way were Larry Page and Sergey Brin negatives before they formed Google. In fact, they had graduated from Stanford as PhD graduates. The only thing they were looking for were investors, and they were struggling for that. So they were not minuses which became positive eventually. You built up your health case on kidney failure and dialysis, etc. We give you a positive for that. You've talked about China favoring Pakistan against India, and so many political allies that we see, US with Israel, and so and so. Enemies, enemy is a friend sort of thing. We respect that perspective. Yes, you get a positive for that. Then you come to population was a negative for India, and so was women. I'm sorry, but the two do not multiply into each other in any way. We need to see a correlation there. How do women with population correlate to multiply and then form a negative? So we lost that. Nothing, no marks. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times, great. And he finally comes to know what he does not need to do, great. Then you talk about leader of opposition, how he resists anything that goes wrong in the parliament, which is another negative. And he is in the opposing party, and how finally we have correct policies of better amendments come through. Great, that's a good building up. You've talked about biogas, but it's a mere reference and a repetition of what the leader has already said, so you've not really built up on it. We're not giving you anything there. Then you've talked about a beautiful example where you said prisoners, and they commit crime, or other individuals, they commit crime, and eventually there is punishment, 2 negatives, and they bring reforms. Beautiful example, we give you a positive for that. You've taken some rebuttals. The first one is, you said negative is not only in government organizations, it's also in private. How does that further your movement is beyond the panel? Nowhere does it substantiate how does it help minus into minus is a plus, regardless of whether public sector does it or government does it or not. Then you've talked about how a reservation is required to improve the quota system, etc. How does that make it minus into minus is a plus? Even if I was to take quota as a negative or a backward class as a negative, I need to multiply it with reservation to get a reformed community. That's a minus into a plus, if you understand what I mean. The multiplication is at a very different level. You talked about market regions like SAARC and BRICS, which were more or less very feckless or very quiet for a long time, and suddenly they've come together and there's a lot of movement. We give you a positive for that. We come to the member of opposition, a very long list of things to go by, so I'll try to hurry up. You've talked about a great example about 3 prime ministers and finally a hung-up parliament between the 1996 and 1998. We give you a positive for building that up. You've also talked about Suresh Kalmari and the scam, which the next one is also a financial scam, Harshad Mehta. So we give you a positive for both of them together. Then you've taken up 2 examples from sports, Hansi Cronian and Mahesh Mukti and Land Pierce. Both are sports examples, where negatives led to positives. It's a sports perspective. Then you've come to economic, we've given you positive for that. Then you've come to economic perspective and you've talked about Greece and Portugal. I don't know if it's only Greece and Portugal. There are a lot of other countries ailing there. Italy is ailing and so many more. But we understand that as minuses, they are not adding to the positive. We give you a positive for that. You've given us a great perspective here when you said weakening Nokia took the support of a struggling Microsoft. Hats off. That was a super point and we give you a positive for that, and they could not make a great system out of it. Then we've had 2 or 3 parallel examples come up. One is Hitler, the other one is Mussolini from Italy and Germany respectively, and World War II, and then another one from Iraq. So they're basically all war, destruction, leading to negative damage. So we've given you a plus for that. You also, ma'am, said, unlike repel each other. That's not true. On the contrary, they attract each other. We've given you a -1 for that. Then you've got to talk about untouchability, social reforms, bad image, entire region, etc. So we've given you, for a social perspective, you've also lost 2 marks for using my member and another PO that was taken up. I'm sure there will be a clarity of thought as we go ahead, but I'm sure you will reconcile with it. Here are some of the things that came from you. I'm not sure if I should be, how to put it across. You've mentioned a social caste and a social tribe as a minus. I don't know if you would love to do that in a parliamentary house or in any public house for that matter. It's a sad perspective that you brought in. We give you a -1. Somebody else in my shoes might give you a -10. Forest cover is depleting is a repetition from what the opposition leader has said. You've talked about 2 emotionally weak people coming together to bad relationship. I don't know if that is a research which has been done and found. I know a lot of weak students who understand each other better than the strong and the weak together in my lifespan. But I'm not giving you a minus, I'm not giving you a positive. I don't think it's a research which has ever been concluded. You've also talked about China alone, which has a lot of capital punishment, over 90%. Now, how does that further your perspective? It's just an example which helps. You came to a rebuttal which said, healthy egg needs a healthy sperm. Ma'am, if my biology, somebody from the panel really helped me through this and I was reminded of it, DNA has a double helix. If one doesn't work, the second does. Please correct me if I'm going wrong. Can a negative mind innovate? May I tell you, maximum innovations were done during World War II. I don't know if you call them negative or positive mind. You left us midway. We've not given you minuses for all these, but you left us midway. You were in the middle of the sentence, you suddenly left. We've certainly given you a minus for that. I come to the whip from the proposition. Excuse me. Your first perspective, sir, is both weak people can support each other. We take that. In fact, usually that's the way it goes. But your second perspective, which says, to change the system, you have to be in the system. I don't know if I or anybody in this house will support that, saying, let's be corrupt in order to erase corruption. Let's learn how to do it before we can actually do it. I know a lot of spy agencies would end up doing that once in a while. But seriously, would you like to promote it in the House? I'm not sure. Then you've given a rebuttal on Suresh Kalmari. Have you said, had it not happened, we would have never found out what was going in our country. Yes, you've kind of pushed it, but yes, it's a smart rebuttal. We'll give you a mark for that. You talked about Sachin Tendulkar, plus not a great bowler. I don't remember when Sachin Tendulkar wanted to be a bowler. Never. Never. He always wanted to be a batsman, from what we know of history. But you can check. In any case, considering the gap is not worth a single mark, but you can get back to it. Then you've talked about Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf and Nawaz Sharif. I would add Benazir Bhutto to the list if you want, to the minuses. Creates finally a democracy. We'll give you a mark plus for that. You talked about a very good example of what is going on in the world, how American government was very smart in putting a clash through between Florida and Chicago, and how it came through. We'll give you a plus for that. Hansi Kroeninger, now you said match fixing was erased. I would not say that, but we give it to you that it was certainly brought down to a large scale after this event. So yes, positive. You said Mahesh Bhukti and Leander Pierce, had they not come to the press, it would have never got resolved. We give you a plus for that. You also brought up mining and hard conditioning, and they get diamonds. I'm sorry, are you building up a new case? You're a whip. We'll give you a minus for that. That's a completely new perspective. I don't know why you brought it in. We could not see it as a rebuttal to anything which was said by the first two speakers. You brought in ice cream at a freezing point and correctly pointed out by the whip later, it's a 1 minus. That's a minus temperature. There's no other minus there. Both ice cream and cone are adorable. I hope you don't find them minus. You've had a great solution and a conclusion. You gained points there. You've also given us a very interesting example, though it may have been misquoted, but that is not what the whip got this side. It may not have been G.P. Shaw. It may have been somebody else when you research, who was proposed to by a beautiful lady and said, you have good brains to that gentleman, and I have beauty, and let's put it together. But that's a great example. We give you a positive for that.
It could have been otherwise also.
Sorry, sir?
It could have been otherwise. Brain of the lady and beauty of...
Yes, what if that happened? And that is what should have come back. Yes, that is the answer we were expecting to come back from the whip, the response of the gentleman, precisely. We come to the whip. You said Apple and Next were not ailing. That is incorrect, sir. We give you a -1. You also mentioned Toy Story was launched by Next. I apologize. Next, it was not Next, it was Pixar which launched Toy Story. Then you took up the credit. What did you take up? Sorry, what was the point? Yeah, it was cash credit limit that you took up. You run an organization yourself. It's a limit that you exceed. When you exceed it, you're definitely doing very well. And it was not about a bank balance, it was completely badly rebutted. You gain a minus there. Your next point is, minus is just below quality. And then you said, what if the chair was to stand on 3 legs? We would have loved this rebuttal from you had your opposition leader in her definition not mentioned below quality as one of the definitions. Not only that, she's also given many other words to it. Subtraction, disadvantage, no usefulness, below quality, etc., etc. Which is contradicting your own team. You get a minus there again. Then you've talked about how negative people can only harm the organization and not progress. That's a mere repetition, sir. You've talked about Russia and US and the Cold War that continued for decades and how negative it was for the world. You get a positive for that. You've said large population is only a small-term benefit. I hope some other economic analyst in the world agrees with you today, but I'm sorry they don't. No, sir. Anywhere in the world today, India's population, statistics show it, HR policies show it, their employment rate in other developed nations show it, outsourcing to India reveals it, is a positive today, is counted as a positive. So I don't know how you, anyway. Then you've come to Thomas Edison, and you said, you raised a question, you said, where were the negatives coming together? I don't know, we've not given you a minus or positive, I don't know what you failed to understand here. We've not given you both a point on salvation or spirituality because it's a very abstract topic and we would rather you not bring religion or spirituality, because no one here sitting in this hall can comment on it. So we don't give this side or this side, either to the point or to the rebuttal, any marks. You have brought in 2 statements into the House. The first one is SARC. You ridiculed it as a playground, even though it might be. We give you a -1. Another statement that you brought in was George Bernard Shaw's rebuttal, where you said, what can I do if 2 mentally retarded people, unstable people got together? Quote unquote, I'm quoting you. There's a -1 for that. Number 1, it nowhere justifies the example of the rebuttal. Number 2, you're using unparliamentary language and rebuttal. You next talk about, before this you talk about brick zone as a duty-free zone is only being talked about, etc., etc. We completely respect that. You get a positive for that. You also pointed out, Sachin, Tendulkar was never wanted to be a border. We give you a positive for that. You've given us, at the end, a lot of things, eye for an eye, and you build up the case. We've given you 2 positives, both for the solution and the conclusion. You've also lost 1 mark for using my leader or something like that in the beginning. At the end of the day, we have the proposition leader come in. You've used the more negative charge you lose, the more positive you become. We give you a positive for that. Lady that goes through the pain is only a repetition. There's nothing that you extra added to it. Cash credit limit, very well taken. We would have given you Mamata Banerjee's case with Akali Dal plus BJP making a positive, except you used it as Akal Dal, so you also gained a negative there and it was negated. At the end of the day, we have the team from TCY with a considerable lead. And can we have a big round? Queries that you may have on the stage or off the stage, and if there are any qualms, any queries, any suggestions, we'd like to clarify them in the open house right now. Sure, sir. Could you use the mic so everybody can hear?
I got the -1 for not taking the POI after first.
No, you did not.
Okay.
No, you did not. So in fact, we told Gautam right there and there that you took the second one. You did not take a POI from the lady. She raised her hand and you did make an eye contact, and it was categorically pointed out, and everyone in the House panel seconds that. But you made an eye contact for a second rebuttal, a second POI with her, but you did not take it. That is where you gave the marks. Yes, sir.
I think wanted to be a fast bowler, but he was sent back because of his job.
Perhaps. In any case, you're still winning. You can Google it and rectify it, or as you wish. Perhaps there's something that we don't know in the House. You may know it. Not a problem. And we'd like to rectify ourselves. Yes, sir.
I just need to come back to the point of cash credit limit.
Yes.
When a cash credit limit exceeds,
yes, sir.
that means the negative balance of the company is, increased.
Yes.
That if I had a cash credit limit.
But that is not what you used. You said banking balance.
If it goes into a negative,
entirely different things.
The more negative it goes, that means more debt.
Let me rephrase the 2 things. Here's a bank balance. It could be a saving account. You have gone minus it. You've used your credit card or debit card or something and you've exceeded the limit and you don't have that much money with you. And here's a cash credit limit which a company takes to use as investment. And every time you overgo it, it shows how much more investment you're making. It does not. You never use it to either buy a car or to have your house needs done. Let's not get into debate.
The cash credit limit essentially represents a loan on the company, and the more loan I take, the more into debt I am.
Yes. Yes. And still the symbolic implication which I've referred to you, I'm sure you understand that. That is not the point. You brought in it as banking balance, which was a -1. I have given you 1 -1, sir. You can even take it for using the word banking balance. There's nothing like a word called banking balance.
There is
we could have given you -3, but it's given you -1.
It's a grammatical error.
Yes.
Sorry. And secondly, ma'am, in the beginning, when I talked about G.V. Shaw,
Yes, sir.
or about any other people,
You did not talk about G.V. Shaw. The other party did towards the end. You rebutted it at the end.
when I talked about SARC, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's all right. You're welcome to bring up separately also, whatever queries you have. I promise you the lead is rather considerable, so otherwise I would have definitely looked at a singular points and said we could take it further. Thank you so much for participating. It was adorable to listen to both the teams. God bless you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I ask as to how did you like the program? Would you like it to be repeated next year? Every year? Can it happen every year? Thank you. It's very encouraging. I'll personally say that I find the participants have been very brave to withstand the scrutiny of her breath and her team. It's very difficult. Will it be attractive for the participants in future, or will it repel them? That is to be seen. And I thank 13 teams who participated, and I thank participants and all the corporates who have participated. It has been really heartening and satisfying to witness this unique event. I came across some of the participants who were knocked out, and they were extremely happy, not because they have been knocked out, because it was a lifetime experience for them to participate in a debate like this. I believe that the participants have enjoyed it, and I expect that they will be in large numbers next year. Debate actually helps to develop our personality. We don't remain shy and speak up because our opponents constantly pose challenges to us. At all times, we need to maintain our emotional balance. This event was not about winning or losing, and it's not important as well. The most important is participation. This brings out the confidence and shapes of the logical argumentation skills. These are skills, these two skills are extremely important in today's scenario. I wish to congratulate every participant of this event and would like to thank the corporates once again. I'd like to share that LMA has been trying to bring in participation and always focusing how we could value and value for society. We have seen about 5-6 programs on this track, and they have been directed to adding value to the society. A program happened on the wellness that was organized by Happy Soil. Then fine dining by Happy Dukan, shaping young minds, mega event done by LMA, and then mentoring has been undertaken by Sachit Jain. Then another forum has been created, that is learning from each other. There is about 15 to 20 business managers plus CEOs sit together and try to learn from each other on the issues. There is no specific now the issues which are common irritants. Then today's inter-corporate debate is another area which has happened before. This all has happened with the involvement of all office bearers. We have been working together, and the chairman of all the forums and support the executive committee. to share with you, Kamal, our General Secretary, has been struggling for some time to bring in Chetan Bhagat, who has been IIT Delhi and then Ahmedabad and an investment banker. Now he has turned into an author. And the likelihood is that the program will happen on 28th of July. And it's an expensive program. It's a mega event which may happen, which will happen at the Guru And the name of the program will be CEO 2020. Some of these youngsters who aspire to be CEOs in that year, they can have the maximum benefit out of it. So one program on management development program is also underway. Sibani Sahib is working on it. And it may happen in the first week of August. With these words, I thank you, everyone, on this intercorporate meeting.
It is really a pleasure to witness both the sessions. Mr. D.N. Sharma, he brought in his learnings from Harvard to the House. We are thankful to you. And at such a short notice, in less than 2 days, he prepared this very good presentation, and then he took all the queries of the House. So many thanks. And for the debate, we did this debate about 6 years ago. We saw movie Great Debaters. We got inspiration from that. We did a lot of search, internet search, and then found out that this event actually happens. It happens in Harvard, it happens in Oxford, but in India debating was on a different pattern. Generally, our law schools, national law schools, they debate on Asian pattern. And a lot of IITs have picked up these Asian patterns. But we thought, why restrict to Asian pattern when we have an internationally accepted way of debating? And we're trying to build this up. LMA has hosted this for last 3 years. Eastman and Havelina Mansilal are the sponsors for that LMA inter-college debate. 75,000 was the cash prize. We had one of the best teams in the country participating and trying to win that. This year we had 36 teams of various top institutes of the country participating in that debate. And this debate we took about 2.5 days, about 25 faculty members. We had 4 debates going on simultaneously. So 5 panelists in each debate, 20 faculty members and about 4 and 5 organizers. I thank all the faculty members for having sat through the debates for the intercorporate. It was really a pleasure. And listening to, we have been listening to the debates of the students. This was the first time they listened to the corporate. They brought in so much. The learning was so much for all of us that yes, at this level we talk. Student will think only as a student. But when the corporates come, they brought in amazing perspectives. Yesterday we had such close debates that only by 1 mark there was a difference. But great learning for all of us. I'm sure it is learning for those who participated. It is learning for us also. Great learning for us also. And let's hope we take it to another level. We have much better participation in the times to come. And before I request the teams to accept prizes, I'll use one Urdu couplet. दो मनफियों के मिलने से बनती है मुस्बतें. 2 मनफियां means 2 minus, मुस्बत means plus. 2 मनफियों के मिलने से बनती है मुस्बतें. तू भी खुदा के वास्ते कह दे नहीं नहीं. And now I request Mr. G.R. Singhal, our president, Mr. V.K. Goyal, our past president, and Mr. D.N. Sharma, our past president, and Mr. Anil Kumar. We have 1 present president and 3 past presidents. It really happens. To please grace the stage and give away the prizes. All 4 please on the stage. TCYT. And second prize for Ransom. Although we have not announced it in the beginning, but first prize was for 10,000 rupees and second prize is for 5,000 rupees. Thank you all. And before we break, I request Mr. Anil Kumar to present a memento to Mr. D. Sharma. He refused to accept the bouquet, but this memento we have to do. This is just an honor. Kindly join us for dinner.